Who knew you could fight Nazis with music, especially from the hilltops and everything? Because that's essentially what they did. They fought Nazis with the music.
That's what you do.
And they won. That is Hero in my book. Hello and welcome to another edition of Popcorn Bucket List. It is warm outside, but it is surprisingly cool in here.
It is hot outside, and it is nice and chill.
It's like actually chilly in here. I don't know about you. So for those of you sweating out there watching this, just know that we are cold, so you can suck it.
You are cold. I am not cold. I feel good. This is where I thrive.
I've been sitting down here for like 30 minutes.
That's true.
So you give it like 30 minutes, then you'll kind of be where I'm at, I guess.
All right.
We'll see. But for the opening spotlight today, we're just going to get right into it. The musical Grease hit theaters 45 years ago this week. So we're going to talk movie musicals here.
That's right.
That's right. We're going to get all... we're going to get the high notes out. We're going to get the treble clef. Some of these are music terms, I think. The half notes. Hit the staccatos.
Staccato.
It's been a while since I've took piano or done anything musically, so I don't know if any of these are actually accurate. But before we actually get into other movie musicals, just to kind of break open this discussion, what do we think of Grease? 45 years?
It was good. I liked it. I always thought the ending was funny when they were flying away in the car. To me, that always was like, oh, okay. I've been to some of the locations where they shot that, and especially the river at the very end.
Oh,
I've been there, yeah.
Been there? Cool.
Yeah. So it's good. Little John Travolta action. It's cool. I like musicals, but I'm not a huge musical guy, and I wouldn't say Grease is top of my list.
Ooh. See, I thought I was going to be ticking off the viewers here, but you kind of opened it up. I'm all right, how many family members am I going to piss off by saying what I want to say here? Who's going to disown me? All right, Grease goes into that very specific category for me where I love the music and the choreography, but the story is terrible. This goes under the same vein as The Greatest Showman, which came out a couple years ago. Yep. Music, choreography, great. The story sucks.
Yeah.
John Travolta this is one of his better performances.
Great, man. He's great.
This is one of his better performances and everything, but he's a terrible character.
Yeah.
He's very two-faced, and he's terrible to Sandy.
Yeah, but it was like the 60s. What do you expect?
It was actually the 50s.
The 50s.
And neither of those justify any of this, by the way. It just, I don't know. I think the final straw for me was at the drive-in theater where he, it's kind of the last straw for Sandy there, and she, runs off. And then he sings this whole ballad of how, Sandy hurt him and everything. I'm like, bro, you just assaulted her. Don't play the victim here.
Yeah.
But the music is great. Even though I hate why he's singing it, it's a good ballad.
It is.
It is very emotional. But I do agree with you, the car is weird.
Well, it just
starts flying. Yeah. Why is it
They're
flying?
in comas, man. That rumor.
What is it? The theory is Sandy got unconscious because she drowned at the beach at the very beginning, and all this is a fever dream.
Yep, all a fever dream,
which is a very specific theory. But I mean, that actually makes more sense than the car just starts flying off into the sunset and everything.
Elon Musk wasn't even around yet.
I know, right?
What's the thing?
Was this the car Howard Stark promised us in Captain America finally?
Yes,
but I do love the racing scene and everything. I'd like to visit that place you talked about as well. So I think we've pissed off enough of the Grease fanatics. What do we think of Grease 2? I'm just kidding. We don't need to talk about Grease 2. That movie was just weird in my book too. But let's talk about some other musicals. I decided to break these into 4 categories. There was 3 main ones, and then I kind of wanted a 4th one as an honorable mention here. So let's break them down here. We're going to talk about best comedy musicals, dramatic musicals, romantic musicals. Ooh. Please don't make that sound, because remember, these headphones, it just felt like that was just right in my ear.
That was right for you. That was for you.
No, I rescind it. And then finally, best animated musicals, because it's basically our excuse to talk about a Disney movie here or something like that.
True.
Let's I'll have you kick it off. What is a comedy musical you wanted to point out?
The comedy, I just kind of would say, is a very peak musical movie, the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I believe a lot of people are familiar with that. I saw it for the first time years and years ago, probably younger than I should have been to watch it.
The number of times you bring that up when you talk about these movies, it's like we just assume that at this point.
Yeah, but it's really fun, and I have a family member who does go to like the re-screenings in theaters where they bring like the bread and the toilet paper and like they do the singing and acting and dancing and throwing stuff at the screen on for it. So like I've never been to one of those, but I think that would be really fun. But yeah, it's just a great cast, great music. Even if you're not familiar with the movie, you probably have heard one or two of the songs before. So it's a great film.
I played Time Warp when I was in a marching band my first year of college.
Oh, okay.
When I was in St. Cloud. That was probably actually one of my favorite songs to play.
Yeah.
Because I was in percussion, so I was just hitting that bass drum during it. It was awesome. My comedy one, I wrote mine down and then took a picture of it so that way he wouldn't take any of mine. But
good
mine, my comedy one, I have talked about this movie before, and I will continue to bring it up until every person on this earth has seen it. Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story.
Very good.
The album was nominated for an Oscar, I think. It is
Really?
actually some very good music, some actually very catchy songs, but there's also a few like spoof songs throughout there too. But there's a few also where it's like, okay, this is a legit song.
Yeah.
And Dewey Cox, played by John C. Reilly, is like giving a great performance in it. Not only acting wise, but his singing ability and everything too. I don't know how much of that is auto-tuned and everything, but he sells it.
Yeah.
And it's basically a spoof biopic kind of picking on Walk the Line. Obviously, he's kind of doing a Johnny Cash thing, but he does a pretty good job here. I'm not saying he's as good as Joaquin Phoenix was in Walk the Line, but he gives him a run for his money.
Yeah, and the movie itself is pretty funny. Pretty great.
It's got some hilarious running gags.
Spoiler alert, when he gets cut in half with the machete, so funny. So funny.
The dad at the end, he's like, I should have spent all this time trying to forgive you instead of trying to train my mind and body in the ways of machetes.
Yeah.
But let's get serious for a moment here. Let's talk about some dramatic here. We'll flip the table here. I'll go again real quick. I can't talk about musicals without talking about Sound of Music.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the best out there. And I mean, who knew you could fight Nazis with music, especially from the hilltops and everything? Because that's essentially what they did. They fought Nazis with the music.
That's what you do.
And they won. Dang it. You know what? That is a hero in my book. So basically, it's Sound of Music, Captain America. They're like right there.
They're right there.
Basically. So, some of the greatest performances in that as well. So, that's one of my favorite dramatic ones. How about you? What do you got for dramatic?
So for dramatic, I took a very dramatic, some would say even a gothy approach, and I went with Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. Absolutely love the music in this. The whole, the cinematography style, the color palette, everything's dark, and I really like Johnny Depp's singing voice. I really enjoyed this movie when it came out, and every once in a while I'll be, singing some of that to my wife, and she just tells me I'm a terrible singer, but I really enjoy it. It's great. The story's pretty good. Also got Sacha Baron Cohen in it, which is awesome. And I can't remember Tim Burton's wife from Harry Potter.
Is it Helena Bonham Carter?
Yes.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. I've remembered Helen. I couldn't remember the rest of it. But she's a phenomenal actress, and I really enjoyed her in this film as well. So it was good. And Alan Riddick's in it too. So.
Oh yeah, really? Yep. Oh, nice. I'm going to let you take over romantic as well, because it turns out I was debating between two, and I couldn't decide, so I thought I'll just, first one comes in my mind. You actually took one of them, so you made my decision way easier.
Perfect.
Take it away. What's your best romantic?
So one of the film that I chose was La La Land, kind of like Damien Chazelle's love letter to Hollywood, I guess.
One of many of his love letters.
Yes, one of many. Not better than Quentin Tarantino's Love Letters to Hollywood, but that's different thing. I really enjoyed it. Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone were fantastic. The songs were great. They were catchy, told a great story. It's one of those movies that, not really necessarily a spoiler, but it doesn't end the way you want it to end, which I think is always, when you can do that in a film, and do it well, it's really powerful. So I really enjoyed it. I loved it. The cinematography was great. The action was great. The singing, the dancing, all of it. It's awesome.
I'm going with one that I think actually kind of, in my opinion, breaks the mold a little bit before the mold was even set.
Okay.
The other one I was debating between was either La La Land or Singin' in the Rain. You don't necessarily think of this one as romantic necessarily, because it kind of does something that we don't see anymore. Like, the couple kind of finds each other, and then they just kind of stay together the whole way. There's not a lot of conflict from the romantic side of it, and I feel like this movie gets away with it because it finds conflict in other avenues, which is what I kind of wish more and more movies would do, because so many times, especially with romantic comedies or just romantic movies in general, it's always like, oh, we got to find something to make it difficult in the third act. Let's have them break up, even though there's been no sign of them having any conflict at all or any reason to break up at all. And I think the romance between the two leads is genuine. I think the chemistry is great and everything, and it's one of the trendsetters. Unfortunately, it didn't set the trend of how to do the romance, which is just have them stay together the whole way. I wish that one had stuck around a little bit as well, but you want to talk about a love letter to Hollywood and everything. We talk about Jamie and Chazelle. Babylon, I think, was kind of a love letter to the era of Hollywood that Singing in the Rain kind of was at that time. The transition from silent films to talkies.
That's a great way to put that.
So whether, we don't plan this stuff, sometimes it just falls in our laps like that sometimes. Yeah.
But see, my problem is as soon as you bring up Singing in the Rain, it reminds me of Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange. And when he commits the ultra violence, he sings Singing in the Rain. And then later, at the end of the movie, that becomes a trigger for him. So when he hears that, he gets the sickness and stuff. Whenever I hear that, I always have flashbacks of
So Stanley Kubrick
Orange.
ruined Singing in the Rain. Is that what you're saying?
For some people, yes. And one of Beethoven's songs.
Wow, it's okay if you ruins Beethoven. Nobody listens to that anymore. Sorry to all you Beethoven fans out there. Try not to flood my mailbox with your hate mail. I'm feeling pretty confident roasting Beethoven here today. Hey, we talk a lot about movies on this channel, but sometimes the ones we talk about aren't the most accessible. That's where the Marshall-Lyon County Library comes in handy. They have a great collection of physical media, as well as a couple of online services with many options for movies, TV shows, and documentaries. It's easy. Just get your own library card at the Marshall-Lyon County Library and gain access to their large variety of movies, TV shows, and of course, books. Also, be sure to check back every month as we here at Popcorn Bucket List make specific movie recommendations based on a monthly theme. This month, we're taking a look at the most underrated animated movies. So head on over to the Marshall-Lyon County Library for some of our favorites and check out the channel to get even more movie recommendations. And now, on with the show! All right, let's move on to a sort of an honorable mention here as far as some movie musicals. Let's talk about animated specifically. I avoided some animated movies when I was coming up with some of these other ones here. I'm going to hit you with a little plot twist here.
Oh, okay.
One that I don't think people really think of.
All right.
South Park, bigger, longer, uncut.
Let's go, baby!
Yes, this is a movie, theatrical movie. It is a musical.
Yep.
And also, one of their songs, not the full album, but one of their songs was also nominated for an Oscar.
And?
Did not win. But
didn't win?
No, I can't remember what won, but they roasted the guy who beat them in later episodes because they lost to him. It is a super funny movie, in my opinion. Like I said, the music is kind of similar to Walk Hard, where it was like a lot of it is spoofy, but there's I guess with Walk Hard, there was a few like genuine songs. Like genuinely you could listen to them not knowing it's a parody movie and be okay with it.
Yeah.
With all these, they each found a balance of parody and like there's some genuine like work put into those songs. They're catchy.
Yep.
They're fun to listen to. And the story, I think, is pretty crazy and out there as well. It talks about free speech and everything. So for those of you who are big in trying to take on Big Brother and its crackdown on free speech, I think you'd like this one too.
And they do such a great job just of that political satire for everything. Yeah.
Although this one I almost wouldn't say as much satire. This one's pretty like just straight up like, no, this is pretty hypocritical of you guys.
Yeah.
Usually, but you're right. Usually they are very good at like hiding it or finding a way to like
make it funny,
show it in a different way. But this one's just straight up like, you guys are suppressing comedy here. Yeah. Like that's pretty much what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Those South Park guys are great.
Yeah. All right, take us home. What is an animated movie musical you want to shout out here today?
The one I really like, well, we've been watching a lot of Moana lately. My daughter loves Moana. But I'm going back to Beauty and the Beast. Just they have a lot of...
Animated one, right?
Yeah, the animated one,
good.
Yep. Because
I was going to have to kick you off the show if you did the remake.
Yeah, no, it's too many Harry Potter references, even though there's only like one in the movie. But
and that's just too much for you? That was the line?
Yeah, it's enough.
All right.
But yeah, it was great watching it as a kid. I loved it. Still like it. Maybe not love it, but I still like it. But the songs themselves, they every once in a while when we're listening to like Disney radio or something, one will pop on and it's very it's good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so movie musicals, again, Grease, 45 years, one of the most iconic. Let us know what some of your favorite musicals in any of these categories or just overall are. Because, I really like movie musicals.
Could have went with Mulan. Mulan had some great songs, too.
Yeah. Like I said, you pretty much could have picked any of the Disney animated ones, and it would have worked for that last one especially. But let's move on then to the weekly preview. This one's... we got
loaded, baby.
We got an interesting one for you here today. All right, yeah, but as you said, quite a few options here to choose from. Let's kick one off with one of the bigger of the blockbusters. Premiering Friday, June 16th, The Flash. This is coming to theaters, starring 2 Flashes, 2 Batmans, and 1 Supergirl. Barry Allen goes back in time to stop his mother's murder, but in doing so opens up a whole new, even worse reality.
Yep.
Elephant in the room. There's been a lot of talk about Ezra Miller. And usually, okay, a little background here, a little behind the scenes. When I come up with these outlines, usually I don't think of these movies till like the week of or whatever.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about for months how we're going to approach this one. And I'm not sure how much of you're going to see of this. I might just ramble here for 20 minutes, and you might only end up seeing 5 minutes of it because I don't like what is said here. The point of this show, or at least part of the point of this show for me, my goal is to give people as much information that I feel like is needed to know when going into a movie.
Mm-hmm.
There has been so much talk about Ezra Miller, and when you look through it, it is so murky and so complicated. There's multiple allegations throughout a couple of years here, different locations. It's not even the same place and time. It's been a running theme, and almost all of them have some nuance to it. Some have more, some have less.
Yep.
Unfortunately, that's just the world we live in right now. I want to focus today on the movie side of it, but more specifically focus on a lot of other aspects of it. But I want to give people the chance to have that information. Just because, again, it's so murky and so complicated, I don't feel like I'm the person to properly say what's all going on here.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you watching on YouTube, or for those of you watching on the public access channel, come over to YouTube, find the video. I will leave a link in the description of an article I found that's fairly recent. I think has a pretty much up to date of everything that's kind of gone on, and I think laid out everything as best as it could. I just don't feel like I'm the proper person to say everything.
Yep, that makes sense, because you're right. There is a lot going on. A lot.
And I have a lot of thoughts about everything that's going on. I have a lot of thoughts about some of the decisions that's gone on and everything. But at the same time, We've said it before.
Yeah.
Innocent till proven guilty. I feel like I have to stay to that standard. As of right now, I don't think he's officially been. I don't think any trials or any have been completed or anything with any of this stuff, because that's how complicated our court system is, I guess, also.
Yep.
And
we're here to talk about movies.
Yes, but here's the problem, though, with this one especially, though, is the reason why we go to movies, the reason why we love comic book movies is the world kind of sucks sometimes. I don't know if you know that. It does.
Yep,
it just does sometimes. And so we look to movies for, even though we know they're fictional heroes, it's good to see heroes on screen to give us a little bit of hope.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a lot harder when the person playing the fictional hero is a real life villain.
Yeah, true.
It's
true.
It murkies that and everything. And I always try to find a way to separate the real world and the movie and everything. And one of the ways I do that, and one of the ways I want to do that going into this one as we kind of preview this one here is, yes, there was a very bad person on the set of this movie, but there was a lot of good people working on the set of this movie. And so I know this is not the first time we're going to come across this situation, but we'll talk about Aquaman later on. Jesus, DC, you're making it hard on me. But I know some people's immediate reactions to these things are, well, we'll boycott the movie. And I get where they're coming from with that. Mm-hmm. They don't want to give them the money, and I get it. The money is mainly going to go to these bigwigs who I think are making bad decisions.
Yep.
But at the same time, I feel like you're hurting more the people who were good, who did their jobs well on the sets here.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of those people. We sit back and watch credits a lot of times. A, because that's just an interesting time for us to chat about the movie right after.
Yep.
B, so that we don't have to deal with the traffic.
Yep.
But I do encourage people at least once in a while, just when you watch a movie, sit back and try and watch the credits and look at all the names going on there. Mm-hmm. And remember, that's a lot of people doing a lot of work. And so that's why I never agreed with the whole boycott a movie kind of thing, even though there's one really messed up person here doing some messed up things. Michael Keaton hasn't done anything bad.
Yep.
The person playing Supergirl hasn't done anything bad. And I double checked just to make sure. If you look up Michael Keaton criminal charges, the only thing comes up is he got sued by some producer back in like 2008 because he didn't think he promoted the movie enough, and that's why it bombed. I then watched the trailer of said movie. That's not why it bombed. It just didn't look good.
Do you remember what the movie was?
It was like Merry Gentlemen. It was about Keaton. Keaton was like an assassin, and he was like striking up this romance with this apartment neighbor, and it was like Christmas time, and it was super cheesy, but it was trying to be an assassin movie, but it was also trying to be super dramatic. It was all over the place. Anyways, so yeah, I guess I want to focus on Keaton. Yeah. I just want to hold on to that because Michael Keaton is back as Batman, people. Yeah. We talked so much about some of these multiverse stories that Marvel's been doing. Oh, bring back Tobey Maguire. Oh, bring back Andrew Garfield. Yeah. Michael Keaton was so huge in comic book casting back in the 80s. He is the guy who started the trope of, oh, they can't be that character. We still see that today. How many actors are currently working right now in comic book roles that people are like, he can't do that. That's stupid. Yep. That's a bad casting. That started with Keaton.
Yep.
And he's now considered to be one of the best Batman.
True. Like, I remember people saying, how could a vampire play Batman? Edward, what's his name?
I think you're thinking of Beetlejuice.
No.
Oh, you're talking
Batman.
about, the most recent. Yeah, Robert Pattinson. I thought we were still talking about Keaton.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Robert Pattinson. I remember I was even kind of like, I don't know. But then watching it, it was like, holy bananas. This is awesome. Mm-hmm. And yeah.
But yeah, this movie, looking at the trailer, the action does look very kinetic. I'm interested to see. The story is loosely based off of the Flashpoint Paradox, which is a comic series I shouldn't say back in the day. It was like 2010-ish or something like that. And it's one of the more impactful comic book storylines for DC. So they're taking some of those elements here. We're getting Michael Shannon back as General Zod.
Yep. Like
I said, Ben Affleck, it seems like this is going to be his last round as Batman. So R.I.P. to that.
R.I.P.
I guess to all you Batfleck fans out there. But Is how much of this do you think is going to carry over to the new DCU? This is supposedly going to be that reset point, and that's what Flashpoint Paradox was in the comics. It's kind of what they're doing here. Do you think it's just going to be, okay, after this movie, clean slate, wipe off the board, nothing else matters?
That's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm thinking this is going to be the, I don't want to say tie a bow tie on everything else, and it's all gone, but I think it's going to be, okay, this is the new starting point. I think it's not going to be a full blank slate moving forward, but it's going to be, this is part of the groundwork for moving forward. This will be the ground, the basement to what's coming up ahead.
It's the storage space. It's like,
yes.
Oh yeah, remember those old Christmas decorations? Yep. Yeah, they still exist. We don't use them anymore.
And and I think part of that too is,
that's a really interesting metaphor. I like that.
And I think part of that too is why it's so like, even with all of the other stuff going on, it's still like, nope, it's coming out. We're putting out the movie. We're doing it. Mm-hmm. And I think that has something to do with it too.
Yeah.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Let's take a quick pause here and talk about the Marshall 6 Theater here in Marshall, Minnesota. I keep saying that June this year is possibly the greatest month of summer blockbusters that I have seen in a long time. So you're going to want to keep up to date. You're not going to want to miss any of them. The best place to check all these great movies out is at the Marshall 6 Theater. They got great concessions, great seats, and great times to be had over there. So head on over to the Marshall 6 Theater so that way you don't miss out on any of this summer's great summer blockbusters.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
All right. We got through that.
We made it. We made it.
I've been dreading that for months. Here we are. All right, let's move on here. Let's move on to some other things. Pixar's Elemental, also coming out this weekend to theaters. In a world where the residents are represented by the 4 elements, earth, air, water, fire, 2 unlikely people, I guess sprout a kinship, not kingship. Kin.
Correct.
Kin. Yeah, and will they make their relationship last? Maybe I'm just cranky from the Flash thing. What's happening at Pixar?
I don't know.
Did this trailer look good to you?
No.
Am I just on an island?
It didn't. And, like, I haven't heard much about it coming out.
There's, like, no marketing.
I think it's going to be a bad movie. And who knows, maybe I could be way, way off.
I want to be wrong. Yeah. I love Pixar.
And I've been wrong on movies before. I remember I thought Doctor Strange was going to bomb. I was like, this movie looks terrible.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. And I've been wrong on movies, but hopefully I'm wrong on this one.
The city they live in here in this trailer is called Elemental City. It should have been called Pun City, because that's just how so much of the humor I feel like is based off of here. And like, it was like, Pixar's been known to do that adult humor thing that adults get, but kids don't get. Yeah. There's a few in here. Like, there's one where like 2 adult grass things are like picking apples off each other, and like there's a pun there too. And I think it was supposed to be an adult joke, but like I don't get the joke. I don't think anyone gets that joke except unless you're like a gardener, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, it also feels like this story's just kind of been done before.
Yeah, it honestly reminds me of Inside Out. Like when I watch it, that's like just maybe the way they animated the red guy, green, the green guy, blue, the purple. Like the colors kind of blend together for me. I don't know. Yeah. Who knows? Hopefully we're wrong and it's awesome and it's great, but who knows?
I don't know. This is just starting to shape up like a not good weekend for Nick right now. I don't know. What also annoys me about The Flash, going back to The Flash here, is like you almost hope this movie will bomb because of that, or be bad just because of Miller, and then it's like, well, no, every single person has like come out and said it's great. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's another. A ton of R.L. Stein went and watched it and said it was good.
Yeah,
like. Okay,
Stephen King,
not R.L. Stein. Yeah,
maybe he probably watched it too.
He watched it too.
Everyone's seen this movie. It feels like, and everyone comes out saying the same thing.
Yeah,
it's kind of annoying. All right. Also, let's just I gotta get it out of my mind. Forget about it. Move on, Nick. All right. Also coming out this weekend, The Blackening, coming out to theaters. This is a horror comedy that takes place in a cabin in the woods. So they're tackling all the horror movie cliches
Yep.
in this one as possible. It plays off of the trope that the black character always dies first in a horror movie. So what happens when all of them are black? They can't all die at once, can they? Or at the same time,
know.
right? They can't all
Don't
die.
know.
Or no, how's the trailer puts it? They can't all die first.
They can't all die first.
That's how it goes and everything. This one actually looked pretty funny to me. Maybe that's just also because I got done watching the Elemental trailer, and so then this one looks better by comparison. Maybe. I don't know. But it did kind of seem like it understood what it was spoofing, and it was spoofing it well.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the trailer. I think the movie's going to be pretty funny. It's as long as you get or understand the tropes that they're making fun of, then I think you'll really enjoy it. And I think it's going to be hilarious.
Well, there's even that one part where like the door slowly opens or whatever, and it's like a completely like dark room, can't see anything, and it's just the one person alone, and she's like she knows well enough not to go up to it. She's like trying to be like, she's like all alone. She's like, I got a gut, and she like keeps rehearsing and she's like trying to make it sound too tough, and she's like, I got a gut. Nope, that's way too much DMX. Nope, they can't do that. Also coming out this weekend, Extraction 2. This one's coming straight to Netflix, a movie starring Chris Hemsworth as a direct sequel to his first Extraction movie. Produced by the Russo brothers and directed by stuntman turned director Sam Hargrave. I love it when stunt coordinators become directors. That's how we get John Wick movies.
Yes. And the first Extraction was really good. This one I think is going to be even better. Chris Hemsworth is great in this. Great.
Action does look pretty good. Like you kind of just alluded to, Hemsworth I think is a fairly good actor. I don't know if we've ever had the opportunity, or he's had the opportunity to fully show his range.
Yeah.
But he has done different action roles, and he does have a little bit of range that he's shown and everything. And it looks like the action will be just as good here, if not better. And finally, coming out this weekend, Stan Lee. This is based on the man that helped make the origin story to so many of the greatest heroes. We finally learned his origin story in this documentary coming to Disney+. Started talking about comic... Oh, God. I know what I was doing. I had a note here, and then I just misread my note. I was going to do something clever, and then it didn't work. All right. Yeah, so just forget that happened. Doctor Strange, rewind it. So we started this weekly preview talking about comic book movies. That's how we're going to end it here, talking about comic books and everything. Super looking forward to this. The documentary trailer looked really, really good. I love learning more and more about the history of comic books, some of the early stages of it and everything, how some of those stories and characters came to be. Hopefully they tackle this in the documentary, but at one point I remember hearing an interview, Spider-Man, one of the most famous characters, one of the most popular, profitable. Stan Lee talked about how he presented it to his editors and his higher-ups, and they're like, Stan, you can't make a superhero off of a spider. People hate spiders. And it almost didn't happen. Yeah. And, we wouldn't have had basically the last 3 biggest blockbuster movies. Yeah. When you think about it right now. And I've alluded to this before. I am a DC fan. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Yeah. I will say, however, I do think Stan Lee and that Marvel team was better at making more relatable heroes. And I think that's, hopefully they kind of go into something here as well.
Yeah, and from the trailers, that's what it really sounded like. He said the quote or the phrase, like, we wanted to make superheroes that if anybody had superpowers, those would be the superheroes they would turn into. So I thought that was really good. And I've seen a lot of documentaries on Stan Lee just from like YouTubers and people that have made their own things. So it'll be interesting to see what the Disney Plus team puts out there as a Stan Lee documentary as compared to all these other ones that we've seen.
And with that, let's move on to some number one recommends. I was pretty busy this past week, so why don't you take it? This is one I really want you to say because I've said it before in the past, and I want some reassurance. I want to hear someone else talk about it here.
Yep. All right. Well, I have to not take back, but I need to bring up the Doctor Strange rewind because we're talking about a movie we already talked about, and I mentioned Doctor Strange earlier. So 1 and 1, check it out. All right. Anyways, The movie that I am picking today.
What was that bit?
That was it.
Okay.
That was it. We'll let it roll, baby.
I was just going to let it slide. Then you started breaking, but okay.
I'm going with 12 Angry Men. This is a old film. I actually had the opportunity to watch it on a plane the other day. I really enjoy this film. It was my first real film that looked into the courtroom process and finding a person guilty or not and what it really means to be innocent until proven guilty. Also, it's a star-studded cast. I can't remember all their names right now. I don't remember. Movie came out in
1957. Henry Fonda, Lee J. Cobb, Martin Balsman, John Fielder, E.J. Marshall, Jack Klugman. That's some of the bigger ones.
Yep, and all of those people, 90% of them all had something to do with a couple of Twilight Zone episodes. So it was kind of funny as I'm watching it. It's like, oh, yeah, you were in that one, and you were the pig-faced doctor in that one, and you were the pool shark in that one. So it was really interesting to see that. But it's just a great film, and it talks about kind of the court system and do we find this person guilty or not guilty? Well, he probably did it, but did they prove that he did it? Is it undisputable evidence? So great film. I think we watched it in class too when I was in college for Persuasion, I believe.
I saw it first in high school, and then I think I watched it again in college, but
Yep.
I've seen it a few times in between as well. Just to kind of add to kind of what you were saying about the, kind of working together and innocent until proven guilty.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you. I think that's where a lot of my ideology actually started, was from this movie.
Yeah.
I truly mean this. I think everyone should watch this movie, especially in this day and age.
Yep.
There is so much disagreement and everything. This movie truly shows how to look at other opinions and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it truly is like this movie of where it's like, even just to kind of spoil it a little bit, the first guy, he's not even sure.
Yeah.
But he's kind of sees and reads the room, and he's like, well, just let's put a pause on this. Let's hit the brakes here. Let's just talk about this for a little bit. Like, this is a man's life.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about it a little bit and find a better way to constructively figure this out and work together and everything. And I truly think it's something everyone should watch, if not already at this point.
Yep, I agree with you. I think everyone should watch this film. It's one of those films that just should be watched.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, that is going to do it for us here on this episode of Popcorn Bucket List. I lost my cursor. There it is. All right. If you want to check out the latest blockbusters, there have been plenty already this summer. There's going to be many more. Check them out at the Marshall 6 Theater here in Marshall, Minnesota. You don't want to be left behind. And if you want to see any more of our recommendations, head on over to the Marshall Lyon County Library for our display there. For myself and Ryan Meyerberg, we'd like to thank you so much for watching, and we will see you at the movies.